All right, looks like we're live. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful spring Wednesday night. Hope you all doing good. And as I've said the past few days, I find myself with an abundance of free time here all of a sudden. So figure I'll take that in the stream. So a couple of things I want to talk about. One thing I kind of wanted to mention. The other day when I was rambling on about TJ, the anal atheist, he was complaining about YouTube censorship of atheism because it seems like YouTube really wants to narrow everything down to as much of a PG milk toast kind of non-offensive thing as they can. They really want to get in on that corporate media thing, which is, I believe, foolish of them. It's not what made them the juggernaut they are. There's no reason to hitch your wagon onto a dying. Just because the dinosaur is bigger doesn't mean that's the horse you want to bet on there, to mix several metaphors. But anyways, one of the things I wanted to bring up, and I just kind of forgot, and it was a point I wanted to make regarding just atheism in general, because I was really ripping into the atheism community. What an absolute joke it is. And most atheists are shitbags. I mean, you just talk to them for like 2 minutes, and they're screaming, they're angry, they're clearly unhappy to all hell and back. I mean, they're pitiable creatures. They really are. And none more than TJ. Oh, wow. Yeah. None more than Banana Boy there. A good look at TJ will fill you with either rage or pity at that despicable creature, or some combination of the two. But anyways, the point I wanted to make, and I make this point a lot, and it gets argued because it makes an immediate emotional knee-jerk reaction in atheists, and it shouldn't, because it's undeniable. It's absolutely undeniable. Mr. Logical Skeptic, far greater minds than you have tried to square this circle and have had to admit that they can't. And that's quite simply that in a godless universe, there is no should. Or to put it more exactly, if indeed there is no God, then there is no, period on this, there is no absolute moral imperative. None. It's not there. It can't be there. There cannot be an absolute moral imperative in a godless universe. And that's not something you can get around. And you'll sit there and you'll huff and you'll puff and you'll act like you can. And you'll say, like, I don't need God to be moral. Oh, and all this other bullshit that misses the point. Yes, I believe there is a moral law, an absolute moral law. And you don't necessarily have to believe in God. You don't necessarily even have to believe in it to be in line with it, at least from time to time. The point is, though, from your atheistic worldview, upon what basis can you possibly think there is an absolute moral law in the universe? I mean, you could maybe say, well, this or that behavior is beneficial to the overall survival of the human species. Okay, fair enough. So what? I mean, you first have to say there that the survival of the human species is a good, is a moral imperative in and of itself. And upon what grounds? That this is something you want? And that's what it always boils down to. This is something you want. This is something most of us want. This is beneficial to most of us. And when I get right down to it, I think this is why atheism tends to lead to communism so much. Because I always found that confusing in my teenage years when I was really first starting to get into theology and politics a lot. I always thought to myself, why do atheism and communism seem to fucking go together so much? Why is that? I mean, you would think, at least on the surface, I would have thought that atheism, I mean, obviously, you don't have to be an atheist to be a Darwinist, but you certainly have to be a Darwinist to be an atheist. Wouldn't you be all about survival of the species for the betterment of for survival of the fittest? I'm sorry, misspoke. For the betterment of our species, all the good, happy horse shit. Well, I mean, communism isn't survival of the fittest, you know. Arguably, a completely balls to the wall anarcho capitalism isn't more of the survival of the fittest, isn't it? So why? I mean, hell, on the surface, you might think like creationists would be more in line with communists. I mean, everybody's equal and made in God. They're just absolute near spiritual autistic about, everyone's created in God's image, which, okay, yes, that's a Christian doctrine. Therefore, we're all equal. Well, no, that's not necessarily what that is. But anyways, I always thought that. I always thought, well, why would communism go hand in hand with atheism? Well, the reason it does is because, as I said, in an atheistic worldview, you can have no moral imperative, no ultimate moral imperative. You can't. You can't, and don't even get in the comments and say that you can, because you're fucking embarrassing yourself. You can't. It doesn't work. But you can sort of have a near approximation of it. You can be like, well, this is good for the survival of the species, which we're just going to say is a moral imperative, even though we have no judgment to say that. I mean, hell, some of the radical environmentalists would argue human beings should be wiped from this planet because it's better for the rest of the life on this planet. But okay, fine, the betterment of the human species. We're just going to say that's the goal here, because we all just kind of like it. But again, that's what it boils down to. We all just kind of like it. It boils down to you don't have an absolute moral authority. So you have to do the next best thing and have a really, really big moral authority, which is the collective, ultimately the state. That's all you can have, because man can't live without a God of some sort. So if you kill God, you got to put the state in its place. And that's why it goes hand in hand with communism all the time. That's why. I mean, you would think these atheists would all be fucking libertarians, wouldn't you? I mean, or ANCAPs or something like that. They're such radical individualists and free thinkers and all that other happy horse shit. And yet they never are they? TJ throwing his weight behind Bernie Sanders, and a good amount of weight it was, wasn't it? But throwing his weight behind Bernie Sanders. They're always fucking socialists. They're always fucking communists. Basically without fail. Because again, they can't have, the closest thing to a God they can have is the state. And you have to have a God, whether they want to admit it or not. And they like the state more than God because, the state doesn't necessarily tell them to stop sticking bananas up their butt, which is almost always what it boils down to with them. It's always about cummies. And what's interesting is that, I mean, they're foolish because ultimately the communist state will eventually tell them to stop putting bananas up their butt, because you don't keep making more people, more workers, more cogs in the machine when you're putting bananas up your butt, do you? You're generally not a very good cog in a machine when you're doing that. When you're fucking dating some mentally challenged tranny like TJ was doing, going half mad from syphilis, most likely. Yeah, you're not a very good cog in the machine, are you? But yeah, that I think is why atheism goes hand in hand with communism so much. Even though, again, at first glance, you might think it wouldn't. I would have thought it wouldn't, but that's just failing to take into account this one little aspect of human nature, and that is that man is incurably religious. Man has to worship something. That's why some of these atheists take science to this bizarre religion, and they think Neil deGrasse Tyson is a saint and all this other ridiculous fucking nonsense. But yeah, and again, don't come in the comments with, well, you don't need a God to have an absolute moral standard. Yeah, you do. You do. You just do. I mean, you can make up any fucking moral standard you want without God. That's the thing. People will say, well, can an atheist be a libertarian? Can an atheist be, I don't know, a monarchist, or, ANCAP or whatever other oddball political ideology. Can an atheist have this or that philosophy? Well, sure. An atheist can be anything, just not really. An atheist can build any fucking philosophical system he wants. The problem is he's building it on sand. But hey, it's going to stand there and look really pretty till the tide comes in, isn't it? All right. One other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit. Now, as everybody knows, I've obviously supported Trump since basically day one. I think if you go back to even, I think it goes back to even my podcast, pre-recorded podcast before I started live streaming. It might even go back that far, but I was impressed with him from his earliest announcement speech. And I stand by it. I still think he's doing basically a good job, especially all things considered. He has a lot of house cleaning to do. But there's one concern I have out there, and that's his daughter, Ivanka. I really, really hope he is not listening to her that much. I really, really hope these positions he's giving her, these quote-unquote advisory, whatever, if he's smart, it's all just for show. It's to humor his daughter, and because she's good eye candy to have out there. She's good. She's, a good figurehead, as it were. Because she is. She's a reasonably smart woman. She's misled in a lot of ways, but she's a reasonably smart woman. She's obviously drop-dead gorgeous in a very classical beauty, very feminine, very traditional way. And, she's a mother. She's a wife and a mother. She exudes feminine virtue, at least in her persona, at least in the brand she puts out there. Can't speak to her as a person. I don't know her that well. Maybe she has skeletons in the closet, what have you. But at least on the surface, she is exuding feminine virtue, and that's something we need to see more of. So having her out in limelight, I'm certainly not opposed to. But I really, really hope he's not taking her stupid ramblings fucking seriously. All right, she's out there rambling on about the fucking, the pay gap and dumb shit like that. I probably rambling on about fucking gay rights and all, from what I understand. It's unfortunate. Somebody in the chat here says a Ron Paul in Trump's ear would make him basically perfect. The neocon nonsense is frustrating, though. Yeah, I'm going to give Trump credit, though. From what I've seen, it doesn't sound like he's really getting on board with the Syria thing. Trump's very good at just throwing out a bunch of bullshit out there to make it sound like he understands your side. He's a negotiator first and foremost. So until action is taken, you can't judge just one line of dialogue, and you have to interpret everything Trump says through the prism of everything else Trump says. You kind of have to, balance it all out, because he loves to make it clear that he understands the other side. Oh, yes, that thing you're concerned about is very, very terrible. I am also very concerned about it. He loves to say shit like that. So I don't think he's necessarily getting involved in the serious shit. I don't think he's going to go all fucking neocon on us. But it's a concern. And it's, people need to hold his feet to the fire. And a lot of people are. There's far more intellectual honesty on the right than there is on the left. So inherently we're going to. But it is a concern. It is a concern I have. First and foremost, though, his first priority has to be, he needs to get his men, he needs to get more of his appointees through. The Supreme Court judge, he needs to get that through. He needs to get more of his people in more positions. He needs to reclaim the Justice Department. He needs to get at least a strong foothold in the intelligence community. And he needs to begin exposing and arresting his political enemies for their crimes. Not for their, for being just stupid liberals, but for constantly and repeatedly breaking the fucking law. He needs to crush his enemies that way. Then he gets some shit done. It's become very apparent over these last couple of months He's not going to get shit done playing nice. He needs to crack the whip on the Republicans in the House and the Senate. Nuclear option, all that shit. Neuter the Democrats, strip them of power, leave them helpless, and make them watch as we tear down everything they've built up. This tower of horse shit that they've built up. And he's done some of that. He's already reversed a great deal of Obama's BS. I mean, he's done a good amount of stuff. We shouldn't sit here and be like, oh, he's turning. No, there's no need for despair. There are some reasons for concern. There is no need for despair here. But there are some, like I said, some reasons for concern. All right. Something else I want to talk about. I was on a former reaction, Robert Conway, I believe is his last name. Yeah. One of my former reaction writers. I was on he started up a YouTube channel. He started up a live stream. He wanted me to come on there. And it was a decent enough talk. But we were talking about the Marvel stuff a lot. The pull away from from all the SJW nonsense. And, the Marvel, the one Marvel head is blaming diversity. And as I said before, it isn't that you replace this or that character with another character who isn't a white male. The sheer volume of it, yes. But replacement characters aren't the problem. But the one other writer, Sam, he made this point where, like, he had played the Arkham game back when it first came out, the first one, and he wanted to read Batman, but at the time what was going on in the Batman comics was Batman had seemingly been killed by Darkseid while on a mission with the Justice League, and Dick Grayson had taken over for Batman. And the books are actually really good at this point. Some of the best Batman books in the last 20 years came out at this point. The Gotham City Sirens was a really good book starring Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and Poison Ivy. The three of them going on their misadventures. The Batman book, the regular Batman books were great. Tim Drake, the third Robin, had just become a character, Red Robin, a new mantle, and he had his own series. It was great. The Batman books were really, really good at this time. Now, because of the game and the Nolan movies, there were a lot of new people who wandered in, and DC wasn't necessarily that good with getting people up to speed. But the way Sam was whining about it, I'm not trying to be mean to the guy, but he was like, I don't want to hear about some alien space god that killed him. I just want typical Batman stuff. Well, I mean, Batman's part of the Justice League. I don't know what to tell you. See, that's the kind of voices that I don't believe Marvel and DC need to listen to, and it causes problems when they do. There's a kind of guys who want nothing to ever change, nothing to ever grow, everything, all the franchises to be segregated except for special little crossovers and shit like that. Batman's a member of the Justice League. Therefore, Justice League shit should affect Batman's status quo. And that's the thing, like, you don't need to have read that story arc. Okay? You're reading the Batman books. Oh, Batman died on a mission with the Justice League. What the fuck else do you really need to know to keep up? I have a hard time with people that bitch about continuity like it's some horrible thing that they just can't get into it because they just can't get up to speed. Really? I mean, you sound kind of fucking retarded to me when you're saying that. Like, I started reading comics when I was like heavily when I was like 12 in like 95. The Marvel Universe already had 30 solid years of continuity behind it. I caught myself up. And yeah, it was things like superhero cartoons, movies, and these days I would say comics are video games are what gets people into comics. It's what introduces you to the characters. But once you get into comics, you got to know that things they're not going to be exactly like they were in whatever introduced you to it. I contend that Marvel, and again, I don't think they should listen to these guys because I think it sucks a certain creativity out of it when you get the guys who just, who don't want anything to be too complicated. Um, I don't think that they should be listened to, because I don't think they're the majority. They're guys that maybe will buy one comic book in their damn life, because they were briefly enticed by a video game, but they're not looking to really get into anything. But again, the continuity, I don't think, that's really that much of a problem, because generally you don't need to know everything. Okay. Good writers will bring you up to speed on what you need to know. But again, these franchises they all find. Let's look at Doctor Who, for example. This is a good example. Now, I don't particularly care for Doctor Who, but the point is, Doctor Who saw its greatest popularity when it already had decades of continuity under its belt, some of which you basically could never access unless you went to thrift stores and found old VHS tapes. It was so far fucking out of print. And all that stuff counted. All that stuff was part of the story, but you didn't have to know all of it. You might get a deeper, richer experience if you did, but you didn't have to. Somebody says, how does one follow continuity across several different comic books? That always confused me. Well, again, I'm not sure what exactly you're confused with. It can get a little fuzzy, and this again is more on bad writing than than continuity. There might be several different Spider-Man books a month. Well, okay, these stories are more or less happening, around the same time of each other. That's what it is. But here's the thing. Here's how continuity should be done well. If you're reading Avengers, things that happen in Avengers, if they are relevant, should affect what's happening in Spider-Man around that time, or in Fantastic Four around that time. But not necessarily to an extent where you have to read them all. That's how you do it well. And it can be done well, and it's often done well. I remember an Avengers story I read, right? Where they were trying to, this force field had taken in part of New York, and it was around the Baxter Building where the Fantastic Four were. And the Avengers are trying to break through this force field. And the whole issue is them trying to do this and calm civilians and stuff like that. And then, the force field is dealt with. And basically it was dealt with in that issue of Fantastic Four that came out that month. I never read that issue of Fantastic Four, but I don't feel like I missed anything. The Avengers were dealing with something that was going on in Fantastic Four. There you go. What else do I need to know? I didn't need to know anything else for the story. If I wanted to know more, I could go check out that Fantastic Four issue, but I don't necessarily need to enjoy this Avengers story, because I know that the Fantastic Four exist in the same world. So, okay, something the Fantastic Four were dealing with affected the Avengers. There we go. What else do I need to know? Because you can separate shit too much. That was a problem the X-Men books had for the longest time, where shit that happened in the X-Men books seemed to be so far disconnected from the rest of the Marvel universe, never seemed to affect anything, even when it should. I didn't want to bother reading the X-Men books. Felt like it was in its own little ghetto. Let's see. As in, do people keep buying a dozen comics to follow one superhero, even if the series isn't their favorite? Well, no, you don't have to. Let's say you want to read Spider-Man, right? Let's say at this point, I don't even know because I'm not currently reading the shit. Well, let's just say years ago there was Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Web Spider-Man, and Ninja Spider-Man, right? Those are the 4 Spider-Man books come out a month. Now, sometimes there could be a big event that is such a status quo changer that it'll just run through all 4 books that month, right? The writers of all those books get together and they know, this is, there's a big difference between before and after this event. So we have to make sure all our books line up here perfectly. Otherwise, it's basically just, you know, 4 different looks at the day-to-day life of Spider-Man, as it were, right? They're all happening at around the same time, but generally they're focusing on their own kind of story arcs. And that's the thing. You don't have to. You don't have to read them all. That's what it is. You don't have to read them all. If you're like, I really, really love the creative team on this one Spider-Man book, then that's just the one I'm going to follow. Okay. You don't necessarily have to read them all. I mean, it's a little easier when you're dealing with teams and franchises because each book can be focusing on different members of the teams and stuff. With like, say, the X-Men or the Avengers, it can be like fucking 20 active Avengers or X-Men at any given time. So, yeah, that's the thing. You don't have to read it all. That's what it boils down to. You don't have to read it all. If something is extreme, if something happened in another book that is extremely relevant to this book, then it could just be something as simple as a little editor's box that says, "Oh yeah, this was happening in this issue of Daredevil. Check it out if you want. If not, that's cool." That's how you do it well. I'm not saying they always do that well. I'm saying that's how ideally you get it done. A really good example of this was some of my favorite time in Spider-Man history was in the 90s, right after the Clone Saga and right before that god-awful relaunch with John Byrne and Howard Mackie. There were about 2 years there where Spider-Man books were the tits. There were 4 Spider-Man books going on monthly. And except for the really big status quo changing events that ran through all 4, generally each one followed its own little subplots, its own little plots. And they each had very different flavors in both art and writing. They were 4 different takes. Now, I happen to be enjoying them all, and I got them all. But you didn't have to, So that's how that's done well. I mean, there's ways to do shared universe well, and there's ways not to. One of the ways I don't like it when it runs through multiple books, especially if it's multiple franchises, is where it's like, let's say the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are hanging out together, fighting some bad guy. We'll have part 1 happen in Uncanny X-Men, part 2 happen in Fantastic Four. I don't necessarily like that. It could be done well, I guess, but it's like, maybe the guys reading Uncanny X-Men don't, want to read Fantastic Four. So I get how that can annoy people. A really good example of this I remember back from the 80s. There was an issue of Daredevil and an issue of Punisher where it was the same story, like the exact same events in both issues, each told through the title character's perspective. That's a really cool way to do it. And that's often how they do it when there's the big, universe status quo changing event that involves every major character. A lot of times you'll have the core miniseries event. Let's say it's Infinity War. And then, in this issue of Fantastic Four, we're just kind of looking at how Infinity War went down from their perspective. It's like it's sort of a supplemental thing. But again, you don't have to read everything. You shouldn't have to if it's done well. Again, I can't emphasize that enough. This is when it's done well. It can be done very poorly. It can be done in a very cheap and shitty way where they're trying to milk the most out of your fucking wallet in very, very shitty ways. But when it's done well, you pick up extra books because you want to. Because you're just like, oh shit, I want to know more. You don't need to know more, but you want to. That's how it's done well. I actually remember late 90s, there was a book I really loved, and I think I've ranted on this channel about how great it is, Thunderbolts. The first year of Thunderbolts is some of the best superhero stuff in the 90s. And I popped into Heroes for Hire, which is another series they had going on, just because the Thunderbolts were guest starring. And it's funny, they had this big blurb at the top where they were talking about not only is all this crazy stuff going on, but a bunch of Thunderbolts readers are here because of the guest star. So let's get you up to speed. And that was a cool way to do that because they knew Thunderbolts was the better selling book too. Let's see. People talking about, some of the Doctor Who episodes were lost in a fire. In fact, recently I saw they were doing something where I guess it was one of the very old episodes that they had lost everything but the audio to or something, and they had actually animated it, which is a cool way to do that kind of crap. I want to like Doctor Who. I really do. It's just the modern Doctor Who is so paused in the nig hole. The concepts behind it seem cool, but it's just paused in the nig hole. Like really, really badly. And somebody mentioned earlier that the Sonic comic not running. That's a very odd situation. There is some sort of licensing dispute between Archie and Sega right now, from what it seems. No one is very public about it, but you will find some listings on, say, Amazon and shit. And when you do, it says like pending licensor approval on it. Like the Sonic comic stopped in mid-story arc. And indeed, to show you how abruptly everything stopped, the Sonic Mega Man crossover, the second Sonic Mega Man crossover, was going to be reprinted in 3 trade paperbacks, like, because it was a big 12-issue story. And volumes 1 and 2 came out, but not 3. And there's no release date on it now. It was supposed to come out in March. So, yeah, it's really weird what's going on with that. And it's sad, too, because it was one of the best all-ages comic books of the last, I'd say, 20 years easily. It was probably the most successful thing Archie's had in forever. So somebody says, so it may or may not be coming back. Nobody seems to know anything for sure. And both Archie and Sega are very mum's the word on it. There was a Sonic miniseries even that got canceled. It was called Mega Drive, and it was sort of like it wasn't the continuity of the main Sonic comic. It was like its own little more based on the classic Genesis games and just that kind of thing. It was having a bunch of one-shots. It was supposed to have one more. Sonic just ended in the middle. It's supposedly supposed to come back, but let's see. People talking about Doctor Who. I don't really know anything about Doctor Who. I mean, I'm somewhat familiar with the mythos behind it, but let's see. Ever read the Fleetway Sonic comic from Britain? Was another law. Yeah, I've heard about the Sonic comic from, that's what everyone calls it, from Britain. The one thing I've heard about it was it actually had like Echo the Dolphin and even like Rocket Knight backup stories, which was kind of interesting. Like I actually read the Rocket Knight one because somebody had scanned them all and reprinted them on DeviantArt, like just scanned them onto DeviantArt. So he says, what's your favorite TMNT comic? Well, I mean, I really like the original TMNT comic. I had a soft spot for the Adventure series as a kid. The original's really good. There was a Batman TMNT crossover last year, and then there was a second one where it was like, it's weird, like, you cross over Batman and TMNT last year, like, Shredder builds some dimensional portal, goes to the DC universe kind of thing. And then you basically kind of do the same story in the sequel, only it's the Batman 90s animated universe and the current Turtles cartoon universe. They called it Batman TMNT Adventures. So I thought that was a really cool way to do a sequel. It's like, oh, we'll do a Batman TMNT crossover. Oh, that's really cool. Everyone seemed to like that. Let's do a sequel. I know. We'll cross over 2 different Batman and Turtles universes. So, maybe we'll do a third one, Crisis on Infinite Bats and Turtles. I don't know. But the Batman TMNT Adventures, it's almost wrapped up. The Batman TMNT, the first crossover is done. You can find that as a trade paperback on Amazon. Good read on both of them. And there was also a TMNT Ghostbusters crossover, I think like 2 years ago now. IDW did. Again, kind of using that interdimensional sort of story in it, which it was also pretty solid. Let's see. What sounds somebody's saying something about killing a kitten. Somebody's talking about My Little Pony comics in here. I don't know anything about that, so I couldn't tell you. Somebody says the pony comic is dark. They play with skulls in one issue. Okay. Like I said, I don't know anything about My Little Pony, guys. I can't tell you. I'll scroll up, see if anybody else is asking something on here. Because again, guys, I don't know about My Little Pony, so. Sorry for the dead air here, folks. People seem to forget Bernie Sanders. An old one here. Bernie Sanders sold out to the devil. Also, Bernie proved millennials don't know shit about economics. Well, they did. Get Black James to fill you in about My Little Pony. I don't want to know anything about My Little Pony. I'm good on that. Thanks. I don't need to know a great deal about My Little Pony. I just don't. Let's see, people talking about the manga Berserk. I've heard it's kind of like Hellraiser, so I might check it out. I did check out the it was the one Undertow kept recommending with this town that was haunted by like this by spirals and shit. It starts off pretty good, but then it gets kind of weak, in my opinion. But there were a few stories in it early on in it that, what the hell is that called? Yukuzaki or something like. I don't know. I'm bad with them goop names. I couldn't tell you. Berserk My Little Pony crossover win. I don't know. We'll see. Hinty Dim and Black James should get together on a stream and discuss My Little Pony. Well, let them know. Somebody says Uzumaki. Yeah, that's what it is. Uzumaki. Let's see. Thoughts on Trump becoming a neocon, ready to go to it? Yeah, I already talked about that. I really don't think he is. I think like I said before, Trump's very good at just sort of playing lip service to all sides. Like, yes, I too am very concerned about that thing that you're concerned about. It's very tragic. Yeah. So with Trump, you almost got to take everything he says and sort of average it out to get what he's really going to do. Bechtloff, you should check out Fate Zero anime sometime. I'm not at all familiar with that. I couldn't tell you anything about it. I mean, maybe it's good, but yeah, I don't know anything about that. What the hell's the other manga I read a little bit of? Oh, I read a little bit of Ram the One Half, just because I constantly would hear about that as a kid back in the 90s. It's all right. I mean, overrated, but to be honest, most manga I've ever read has been overrated. Let's see. You should come on and talk about ponies but I don't want to talk about ponies. I don't care about My Little Pony. I just don't want to fucking ramble on about My Little Pony. Have you met Razor Fist twin brothers Sticks and Hammer 666? I haven't met him, but I've checked out some of his videos. I mean, some of his good stuff. Let's see. Junita Ito, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing it right, the Uzumaki author. His work tends to start out strong because of fresh idea, but tends to wear the idea out by the end, to where he's just spinning his wheels. I don't know why, but I thought that was a chick's name. Show you how much I don't know about Japanese culture, really. Yeah, that's exactly how Uzumaki was. It starts off really strong, and then it just kind of spins its wheels. Yes, I'm gulping. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm taking a drink. What do you want? I'm not even close to the mic, so sorry if you hear it. All right. Yes, gulp, gulp, gulp. I'm sorry. I'm taking a drink. Go off my dick about it. Let's see. I watched some Sticks and Hammer 666's occult videos. They were weird. Yeah, I don't know. He's apparently a Satanist, but I think it's that I mean, there's Satanists that don't actually worship Satan. They're basically just like edgy atheists / pagans that are trying to just fucking troll Christians. Like, we worship the spirit of Satan because he was a rebel and he wasn't going to let the man tell him what to do or whatever the fuck they're saying. But they don't even really believe in Satan. I don't know. I'm just fucking edgelords. MLB is the last bastion of white identity. You mean implicit white identity? He says, well, okay, DSP. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm taking a drink. What do you want? Just got Daredevil Man Without Fear. Ever read it? Was that the Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. series in the 90s? Yeah, I read that. It was pretty good. I actually prefer Daredevil Yellow if I'm looking at Daredevil sort of early days stories. Let's see. Stallions are the last bastions of male identity. Let's see. Wild Stallion. Why is everyone talking about ponies? The hell is the point in talking about ponies? I gotta tell you too, and I think I said this last night, but people that are on the dole, getting unemployment and shit, which I actually filed for unemployment. But what the fuck do they do with themselves, man? This is way too much free time. Oh, somebody says, did they talk about the Pepsi thing? I just caught myself up on that today because I was seeing everybody go nuts about it. I was actually very, very amused with this because here's the thing. So the commercials, they got one of the Kardashian twats, and she's she's at a photo shoot, which for some reason has a window directly to the street, and she sees all the protesters out there. So she's like, I'm going to go protest with them. And she goes out there, and I guess she has a Pepsi for some reason, and she gives it to the cop. It's almost supposed to be like that flower in the fucking gun barrel in the 60s shit. Well, okay, so everybody on the right got all mad because it's glorifying all this, Antifa protest horseshit. But here's the funny part. People on the left got mad about it because, you're making light of our thing and appropriating our protest to sell soda, and she gave it to a cop, and cops are evil. That's fucking hilarious. Pepsi tries to fucking sell to these people, and they get rewarded by being spit back in their face. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. So, can you even be mad about it? This was a behavior that punished itself. Let's see. Let's see. Bechtloff, you have to jerk off. Bechtloff, you have to jerk off 24/7. That's what all unemployed bums do. Well, I mean, there's only so many times you can do that in a day, I mean, after a while, you get dehydrated and your dick starts looking like you pushed out of a moving truck or something. I mean, Antifa hates all forms of capitalism. They even smash Starbucks shops. Well, yeah, Antifa needs to hang. I mean, they're smoke weed every day and jerk off. All right. Bechtloff, are you learning any interesting skills or studying in your free time? Well, actually, what I've been trying to do the past couple of days, aside from, looking for work and following some leads in that direction, is I've been trying to do some spring cleaning. Now, what I need to be doing spring cleaning in here next is this downstairs room where I guess this is the living room, the family room, whatever the hell you want to call it. This needs a serious spring cleaning. The problem is this is where the dog was, and I don't really want to be down here most of the day. It's just eerie to be down here without his presence. So I've been kind of dragging my feet on that. Let's see. I thought the perpetually unemployed huffed paint in between having much R-type sex. Probably. Sorry, I'm scrolling through. Some of this is like people talking to each other. So, Tumblr was pissed. I don't know what that's referring to. Why the fuck do people in the stream know so much about MLP? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Waiting for Star Trek Discovery to tank. The pilot sucked balls. I didn't even know that was out already. They stopped making Star Trek in 2009. When is Tumblr not pissed? Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. My wife is a brony. I don't think she's a brony is a dude that's into My Little Pony. So, I mean, let's see. Game Dev Awards. I don't know any. I didn't watch the Game Dev Awards. I couldn't tell you. I really don't watch TV. I watch Flash and Arrow, and I watch Rick and Morty. That's basically what I watch on TV. And by the way, the Rick and Morty season 3 premiere was Saturday. I actually caught it while Undertow and Artistic Layman were kind enough to do my show for me. But yeah, I too need me some Szechuan McNugget sauce. Let's see. Is there a term for woman brony? Somebody says she's a honey. Why are there so many bronies in the alt-right? I don't know. The alt-right could use a little bit of quality control. Yo, Bechtloff, have you ever read the Akira graphic novel? I can't say that I have. Again, it was only recently I was starting to really dabble in manga. I've had a very negative opinion of those Goot comics for the longest time, which I'm only starting to soften on. But yeah, if you haven't checked out the season 3 premiere of Rick and Morty, it was pretty rad. The alt-right has a problem with pussy worship, TBH. Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do. And I've said this before, and I wish I could take credit for it, but I heard it. I read it in like a comment section somewhere, but a lot of people seem to attribute it to me. But I'll say it before I've said it again. A lot of these alt-right people, the problem is they miss the manosphere on the way here. All right. And that's how you end up with, fucking 19-year-old virgin on Twitter who's never kissed a girl. The roosh is a rapey kebab. It's how you end. Some of these guys are not. They need to fucking man up a bit. All right. Somebody says, where can I find the Rick and Morty premiere? I don't know. If you have cable, it might be like on demand. But if not, I'm pretty sure you could go on the Adult Swim site and stream it. Let's see. Rick and Morty promotes nihilism / moral relativism and star stuff platitudes. I don't know what star stuff platitudes are, but no, it really doesn't promote nihilism and moral relativism. You're not. You're not really. Davis did a really good analysis of Rick and Morty and all, but no, that's a very surface. It's a very surface analysis of it. Did I read the comic defending cuckold? I can't say that I did. Yeah, that's news to me. Some guy made this like a web comic. What is it? A comic depending cuckold. I guess you mean defending cuckolds. Uh, very recently, I don't know anything about that. Somebody says nihilism is Rick's response to agony. Yes, that's the thing. You're not supposed to take Rick's worldview. Rick is a broken, bitter man. You're not supposed. It's like House. You're not supposed to. At least the early, before the last season, which was shit. You're not supposed to take his worldview. If anything, the character arc is supposed to be this guy finding redemption. It's a webcomic. Yeah, I don't know about the webcomic that's defending cuckoldry. I don't know anything about that. R&M can have a nihilistic feel to a couple of the characters, but that's not what the show ultimately is. Ultimately, what it is, it's the literary trope kind of called the like noble pagan, I guess, with Rick. You know, that's I think one of the best things you can liken it to. Like he's got this sense of hopelessness about him, but he's still trying to. He's still trying. Beck, have you heard about the crazy SJW backlash over a fucking Pepsi ad? Yes, we were just talking about that. Noble Savage. Well, no, that's not the same thing. Let's see. Everybody knew vampires were real for centuries, Jerry. um, Beck, what video games are you playing recently? Well, I'm playing through Ocarina of Time 3D on the 3DS. That's really good. It's the definitive version. I'm also playing Mighty Switch Force 1 and 2 on the 3DS Virtual Shop. They're these little puzzle platformers Way Forward put out. And they got that kind of babe art style like Shantae. Really, really cute, fun stuff. I just started playing Pac-Man World 2 on the PS2. And I'm also playing a little bit of Mega Man 5, the Game Boy version, because I got that on the Virtual Shop a few weeks ago. Which is the only way you basically can, because a physical copy of that game is like $100. Easy. So yeah, that's what I'm currently playing. A bunch of hang on. Jerry, my daughter's picture does not belong on that fleshlight / Rick. I don't remember that line. Let's see. Beckley, you should get Fire Emblem Echoes when it comes out. I don't really know anything about the Fire Emblem series. I never really got into it. It's just, it's those anime characters in Smash Brothers. That's about all I know about Fire Emblem. To be honest, I might not even know that series exists if not for Smash Brothers. Let's see. Bechtloff, your thoughts on Walker, Texas Ranger? I never really watched that. I don't have any real thoughts on Walker, Texas Ranger. I couldn't tell you anything about it. The Fire Emblem games are different each game. Well, like I said, I don't know anything about them. I mean, I might check one of them out down the line, but I just what do you think went down with Bannon? I'm not really sure. I don't know what to make of that, to be honest. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Hey, Bechtloff, have you ever checked out Shadowrun? I don't know what that is. I mean, is that a game or what? I don't know what that is. That doesn't ring a bell. Let's see. Idea. Undertow is Bernie Sanders reading and commenting on Fleshlight reviews. That's actually a really good idea. I should run it by him. By the way, ukulele ended up being shit. Yes, I've heard very mixed things about it. See, I don't have a great deal. I don't have any nostalgia for Banjo and Kazooie in the first place because that whole, what was that, the fifth generation, the N64, PS1, and all. I missed out on that. That was when I was a teenager. My dad wasn't really buying me video games at that point. It's weird. He would buy me games on the computer, but he wouldn't buy me video games anymore. I don't know why. Maybe he thought games on the computer were educational or some shit. But he's buying me like Tomb Raider and Oddworld on the computer, so I don't know what that was about. But I was a teenager. I didn't have any real disposable income, and I already had comics. I already had one expensive mistress. So I missed out on those video games. I played a little bit of Mario 64 at the department stores when it was on display. I was blown away by it, but I couldn't get my dad to get me an N64 for that. Played a little bit of Ocarina of Time at friends' houses. It wasn't until like 05 that I really started playing through Ocarina of Time completely. But I never really played Banjo and Kazooie. I kind of knew of it, never played it. So I don't have. It's not really nostalgia that would make me want to play ukulele. What would make me want to play ukulele more than it's not strictly nostalgia, I should say. It's, hey, look, a colorful, fun-looking platformer. I'll check it out because I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. I'm not going to now, not after how they acted, and the fact that reviews are mixed at best. But that's because social justice. It sucks the creativity out of people. I mean, you see once good creators that get on the social justice bandwagon start to turn shit. And that's anything. Writers, directors, actors, comedians, video game developers, what have you. Once they get on board with that shit, they all turn terrible. I mean, Amy Schumer was never especially good. But 10 years ago, she was at least okay. But you sell your soul to Moloch and you don't have any creativity in you anymore. But here's the funny thing about ukulele. They pulled that stunt with JonTron to try and get in good with the fucking, and maybe they really believed it themselves, but I think a lot of it was trying to get in good with the fucking SJW gaming media. And the SJW gaming media still fucking shits on their game. That fucking Planetoid Jim Sterling gave it a 2 out of 10 from what I hear. So yeah, it didn't even do him any good, did it? Somebody says spit roasting a goat has a new meaning for a Muslim. Well, I'm all for shitting on Muslims. By the way, Barry Manilow is gay now. Well, it was very brave of him to come out of the closet decades after his career had ended, and then he wouldn't give a fuck. Very, very stunning and brave. Let's see. PS1 had some great games. It had a few, yeah. I would have probably gotten the N64 if I'd have gotten one of them, just because of that Mario. That sweet, sweet Mario 64 action. But, I mean, I've played them since. Spyro the Dragon games are really good. Crash Bandicoot, I think, is tremendously overrated. I don't have any nostalgia for it other than remembering it was a thing back in the day. I never played it. But it is tremendously overrated. I just do not overall like the, strict hallway camera behind you kind of 3D platforming. I mean, shit, you almost could have done that shit in Mode 7 on the Super Nintendo. What's that need to be on a fucking PlayStation for? It's not awful, but... And, I mean, I could understand why if you played it as a kid, you'd be into it. Like I said, not terrible. I think it's tremendously overrated. But Spyro holds up pretty good for an early 3D game, though. Let's see. Um, Somebody's saying Star Fox 64 is amazing. I never really played that. I never really got into Star Fox games in general, to be honest. Um, it's one of those Nintendo franchises that just never sucked me in. I only had the first Crash, and it feels dated. Yeah, I just. Hmm. I was actually surprised to find out the PS1 sold a ton more consoles than the N64. Well, I wasn't. I knew more people that had the PS1. It was the cool one to have, but I would argue more of the PS1 games feel far more dated than the N64 games. You know, there's more classics on the N64 than on the PS1. Let's see. Um, I never saw the allure of Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, I never got into him either. I don't. I mean, I've even watched people who really really loved him do like reviews of it. Like some call me Johnny's a reviewer I really really like, and I mean he Crash Bandicoot was a big part of his childhood, and he just adored it. And he reviewed, I guess, the trilogy on the PlayStation, and even watching him, like this probably isn't for me. Let's see. Star Fox is about 50-50 of good games versus bad. Um, yeah, I mean, I never got into Star Fox. It's Star Fox is that thing that's in Smash Brothers to me. It's weird too. Like, this happened a couple years ago, but it was one of the weirdest questions I got back when I was doing the Ask FM a lot, and I don't even check it anymore. That site's damn near dead. But somebody asked me I guess because I was talking about like comic crossovers and how much I like the Sonic comic and stuff like that. And I think it was right when the Sonic Mega Man crossover was going on. Somebody asked me, would a Sonic the Hedgehog Star Fox crossover comic work? And I was just like, I don't know, I guess. I mean, I'd probably check it out, but that's a really fucking weird combination you just pulled out of your ass. But I mean, I guess I wouldn't say no to it. I've seen weirder crossovers work. Let's see. Um, Title. I'm sorry, I'm reading through somebody's comments here. Um, People arguing over which Star Fox game is good. Um, were you into Pokemon back, or was that past your generation at that point? I guess I was a touch too old for Pokemon. My history with Pokemon was like, I would watch the cartoons sometimes in high school just because it was constantly fucking on in the afternoon, Like and it would come on like right after like, Batman or Batman Beyond. So I just sort of watch it. I actually remember at one point, um, my high school sweetheart and I worked at the same place after school. And so, she'd be allowed to come over to my house after school and we'd go right to work from there. So, we're usually upstairs fucking. And I actually remember getting ass while Pokemon was on TV at one point. Um, but a couple years later, this was like '02, so it was a touch past its initial, huge rush, huge boost in popularity. Um, my high school sweetheart was a grade higher than me, so she had her own place my senior year. So I'd constantly skip school and just go hang out at her apartment. We'd obviously fuck like rabbits all day. And I remember her friend had left a Game Boy there, a Game Boy Color with Pokemon Red in it. And that, back in like '02, was the first time I played through Pokemon. Just because like she didn't have cable or anything like that. So, if I'm waiting for her to get ready because we're going to go out to eat or something, I'm usually bored to tears. So that's how I started playing Pokemon. And I didn't play through it again until I played through Yellow to do a review on my blog and then later reaction. They're solid games. I mean, I'm playing through. I think I got Sun. I kind of Like I'm like probably halfway through it, and I sort of just put it aside for a while. I'll get back into it. Um, that's how I tend to play games a lot of times. Like I just play it for a while, and then I end up going into something else for a little while, and then go back into it for a while. Let's see. In before she comes back 18 years later with your child. No, that wouldn't happen. Because here's the thing. Pregnancy is the easiest thing in the world to avoid. I don't understand you bitches. Like, I got accidentally pregnant. I'm starting to think y'all just did that shit on purpose. All right. Because it's so fucking easy to avoid. You should be ashamed of yourselves if you get pregnant accidentally. First of all, you can only get pregnant like 3 fucking days a month. All right. That's the only time it's biologically possible. Second of all, they sell condoms at the store. Failing that, I mean, you can't get her mouth pregnant. I mean, I don't understand y'all motherfuckers. I got her pregnant. It was an accident. Wow. Easiest fucking thing in the world to avoid. So no, I am pretty damn certain I don't have any bastards floating around. Like I said, easiest thing in the world to avoid. Hell, take birth control pills or the morning after pills. Yeah, like I said, easiest thing in the world to avoid. Sex before marriage is a sin. Yes, it is. But I was not a man of faith at that time. I can tell you that much. I'm sorry, I gotta read it. Bechtloff, you've never heard of basting, where a woman takes the condom and gets semen from that when you aren't watching. Man. Well, I would like to think that I'm not fucking any women that are that pure fucking evil. Save your soul, Beck. No, I already took care of that. Yeah, me and God are squared up. Suggestion: go for mammary intercourse. Well, can't get her pregnant that way either. Let's see. Women be crazy if they do that shit. WTF. Yeah, that's wow. But he who is without sin, something, the first pause load. So he says, Bechtloff become Catholic. No, that's all right. I don't feel like kissing the ring of an old fucking socialist in a big hat. Mainstream media pulled another lie on Assad today. Yeah, I mean, I miss when the left at least pretended to be anti-war. This is funny. Can't get her in quotation marks pregnant if she's Blair White. No, I guess you can't. I guess you can't. Don't you watch Scrubs? I used to watch Scrubs. I don't know what that's in. I don't know what you're referencing there. Let's see. People are saying go Orthodox. Yeah. I have far less problems with the Orthodox and the Catholics, but I just who the hell wants to go through all that shit? I don't have a lot of, and I don't know if this is true of the Orthodox. It's very much true of the Catholics, but I don't have a lot of time for people that want to water down the gospel. All right, you're saved by faith in Christ, and there's no and after that. yeah, I don't have time for any of that crap. I just really don't. Bechtloff, if you ever watch an anime, go Speed Grapher first. It has people with superpowers based on the 7 deadly sins. Dude, orthodoxy doesn't water it down, hence orthodoxy. Well, no, watered down maybe wasn't the proper term. People who add legalism to it. That's what I don't have any time for. And on some level, I get, you know, when you say you're saved by faith in Christ, and you're implying that what was done on the cross was not sufficient payment, and was not sufficient, and I don't have a lot of time for that kind of heresy. Orthodox don't have the stupid concept of purgatory. You're either in heaven or hell. There's no in between. Someone says, Bechtloff, have you tried Protestant or non-denominational? Every church I've ever been in has basically been some sort of non-denominational evangelical church. And basically my theology is mostly in line with evangelicals. The only ways I differ with them that aren't some sort of social or political way is I don't have the Israel fetish or the literal creationism they do. And neither one of those are a big enough deal to not break bread with. So Bechtloff is Bechtloff. Why do we need to change his honest faith? Well, thank you. Let's see. Baptists don't believe in purgatory. No, they do not. Somebody says, I am too, but I'm a lot more sympathetic towards Catholics and Orthodox. They're trying to hold the line on morality. I'm not saying Catholics when I say this. I'm saying the organization at its highest levels. The Catholic Church is a force for evil in this world right now. Absolutely. They are at their highest level. They are nothing but a syndicate of pedophiles run by a Marxist. I could wake up happy tomorrow to find out that a bunch of them goat fucking Mohammedans stormed Vatican City and burned it to the ground. Be ashamed to lose all that art. Other than that, I'd be quite content with that news. So he says Catholicism is too much, the Pope said, and not enough, the Word of God says. Yeah, that's kind of my problem with it. How are Baptists on cussing and dirty jokes? Not that I usually talk like that. Generally, they frown on it. I, on the other hand, obviously really don't. I try not to take the Lord's name in vain. That I think is actually wrong. I don't always succeed, but I try. Actual swearing, things like that, that to me is not an issue of morality. That's an issue of manners. And as Undertow so brilliantly stated, many of these pearl clutchers can't seem to differentiate manners from morality. So he says, is it just me or do popes always give the most evil smile? Well, this one certainly does. I didn't know a great deal about the last one. I didn't follow him a great deal, but he seemed a very respectable man. And the one before him that was, I guess, what was that, Pope John Paul, before he died, he seemed like a very respectable man. I respected both of them as men, just didn't respect the office. Let's see. Remove Jesuits. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, look, my more immediate concerns with the Catholic Church right now are that they have become a force for evil. unabashedly. That said, reform it all you want. Get it back to at least being not dysgenic all you want. The fact of the matter is, it's it's a false gospel in my opinion. It's legalism. It's you know it's not the gospel anymore. It's watered it down too much. All right, you're not saved by Jesus and there is no and. There's no and in that. You know, the thief on the cross who was told that this day you will be in paradise had basically nothing. As far as we know, he had nothing more to go on than I'm with this guy, and that's all he needed. Somebody says the Gospel of Pause. That's going to be the new book this Pope puts in the Bible. Let's see. Somebody says, I think Chris is avoiding me. Who? Go Westboro Baptist Church. No, I'm all right. The Gospel of Pause. You mean Unitarians? Oh, Lordy. But yeah, I don't have time for that kind of legalism. That's the thing about it. I don't want to hear that crap. That's not the gospel. It's not. I think the purgatory thing is just an outright scam. I don't see any real evidence of it in the Bible. But what's more, never mind theology. I know a little something about human nature. And this was something the Catholic Church made up as a doctrine that they happen to profit a great deal off of. So that alone makes me a touch suspicious of it. Yes. Gulp, gulp, I know. Bechtloff, another anime you should check out is The Devil is a Part-Timer. Sounds like it might be interesting. Check it out. Like I'm such a fucking, I don't know, normie on anime. I mean, basically, like the only anime movies I've really watched are like Princess Mononoke or Spirited Away. Spirited Away, I think, is a damn fine movie, but Princess Mononoke's all right. It's a touch overrated, but it's all right. Let's see. Chris, since you like comics so much, why not develop an artistic skills, penciling? Yeah, I used to be a pretty good illustrator way back in my high school days, and the love of art was killed in me. And I have not put pen to paper in absolute years. I can't imagine how shitty it would be. I mean, I got it is atrophied to nothing. I was working on a comic book with a buddy of mine, and some personal stuff hit, and we both ended up shelving it for a while. I'd like to get it started again, but he's got a ton of other projects going on. But I'd like to get that started again. I might even look for another. In fact, I'll put it out right here. And I can't promise anything because this is just off the top of my head. But if you are a talented artist and you would like to work on this with me, let me know. It would be something I'd get off the ground, and I'd be willing to share any money it makes. But I couldn't pay you aside from sharing money it makes. And I would need to get permission to do this from the other co-creator that I fleshed out this universe with. But I'd be willing to let another artist take it over and get it off the ground. If any of you are talented illustrators out there that might be interested in doing a project with me, it would be it's a shared superhero universe. It's just a fleshed out universe full of some different superheroes. It's good old fashioned superhero fun like they used to make over at Marvel. Um, like they're starting to kind of make a little bit now over at DC. Um, but yeah, any talented illustrators want to get in touch with me. Again, I would think it'd be worth putting online and maybe putting some ads up, that kind of thing. Um, and I'd share any money it makes. Um, but again, I don't know if anybody would want to get in this because there probably wouldn't be a lot of money in it, and you wouldn't own any of these creations. You would not own the IPs. That's me and my buddy. But anybody interested, let me know. Hit me up on the Skype there. Maybe we can talk. If not, I'll just wait till my buddy's schedule frees up and maybe we'll get it off the ground. Like I said, though, that's off the top of my head. I don't even know if my buddy would be okay with somebody else doing it. But we can see. Let's see. Hey, Bechtloff, what is your opinion on the Valerian movie coming out? I don't know anything about it. I've heard a little bit about it, but somebody in the chat here says, I'm a decent artist. I can work on it with you. Okay. I mean, I'll need to see some work, but, but yeah, anybody, and again, it's not just illustrating. I mean, you'd be doing panel by panel. You got to have a grasp of, sequential storytelling. Let's see. I would like your comic. It sounds like it would be a cross between. I mean, look, it's basically like, it follows primarily two different heroes who end up befriending each other, and then they end up getting involved in, the big superhero team of that world. Again, there's not a lot I could tell you without giving shit away. But the great thing about the superhero genre is that by its nature, it's kind of all your toys in the same sandbox. A superhero universe has every crazy thing running around in it. Cyborgs and aliens and zombies and wizards and ancient pagan gods and demons and all manner of super science and mystical shit and everything. It's got everything in it. So it's just, by nature, you establish good characters and you have them bounce off each other. And from there, I mean, shit writes itself. But yeah, I sat down with Undertale one time when we were just chatting online on Skype, and I was telling him about some of these ideas. And I mean, he's not even that much of a he's not even that much of a superhero guy. And he was like, dude, that shit sounds awesome. And basically it started like 10 years ago. My buddy and I started thinking about this, and we just we're sitting around and we talked about like different ideas we'd have for superheroes. And we just like, man, can you imagine just throwing that all together in like a shared universe and just kind of writing a book of it? And you follow primarily the two guys, and then maybe you do backup stories in each one that just sort of flesh out, additional things in this world kind of thing. I'll just throw this out there just to give you an idea of it. Like, one story we have a Doctor Strange-like character. Very, very different than that. But fits that same role of being the main mystical superhero. And he's tracking down this character who is basically he's a Freddy knockoff. He's a Freddy homage. Freddy Krueger homage. He's this serial killer pedophile that made a deal with a demon where he can kill people in their dreams after he died. So the mystical character, in order to defeat him, basically keeps him busy, but he tells the superhero, like, you're going to fight him in your dream. Well, the superhero doesn't really have stand a chance in this regard, but he can't tell him that because basically he needs the superhero to just keep keep this guy distracted for a while he goes and finds where he's buried and actually resurrects him from the dead. And in so doing, renders him just a harmless human being again without any mystical powers. And then basically imprisons him until he can figure out how to permanently separate him from his powers. But I just kind of thought that was an interesting way to sort of, deal with that kind of a threat. Somebody says on here, I heard there's an Elseworld story about an Amish Superman. Yes, actually, sort of. It's not really about that, but the story is called JLA the Nail. And it's sort of the inspiration from it was this old poem where it was from want of a nail, a horseshoe was lost. From want of a horseshoe, a horse was lost. From want of a horse, a warrior was lost. From want of a warrior, a battle was lost. And from that, the war was lost and the kingdom was lost. So a kingdom was lost for want of a nail. So the story starts with Martha and Jonathan Kent in their truck, and they hit a nail and they got a flat. So they never make it to find Superman as a baby. And then we flash forward to the present day of just, the modern day DC Justice League superhero universe, but there's never been a Superman. And later we eventually find out Superman had been adopted by an Amish couple and was just growing up on this farm and was separated from society. Again, because in fiction, we always have this idea that the Amish are away, like in their own, like they're in some M. Night Shyamalan style village, which again, I can't emphasize this enough. I fucking wish they were, but no, in reality, they're all over the fucking place, in everyone's damn way. Somebody says, Bechtloff, I can't believe Wes Craven didn't think of that. But yeah, I kind of thought that, if Freddy was alive again, that he wouldn't necessarily have access to his powers. Now, again, he could kill himself or die again and would have access to it. I actually had an idea in this comic book for a bunch of eventually that Freddy guy, and I'm not even going to tell you the character's name, but just think of a guy like Freddy Krueger. Eventually, as a human being, he manages to escape his prison in this mystical guy's house, which is, this sort of pocket dimension, and breaks into the armory where he's has all these mystical artifacts and other dangerous beings. Well, basically, he breaks out a posse and heads out. And just imagine, characters that are very obvious homages to classic horror guys, all just sort of forming their own posse and storming out there. Let's see. A bunch of shit posting each other about Amish superheroes. Let's see. Somebody says, I do love cute things. Yeah, that's kind of why I love the Kirby games. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. Let's see. Somebody messaging me on Skype. I am holding up fine, thank you. Somebody messaging me about working on a comic. Oh. All right, sorry about that. Dead air. I know, totally unprofessional. It sounds like people are fighting in the chat. I don't know what's going on now. The movies are still, what's that about? Oh, pardon me. Sitting here belching like fucking DSP. Has DSP been doing any like fucked up shit lately? It seems like everyone's quieted down about him. It's hard to find really good commentary on him. Everyone wants to just play back his videos slightly distorted, and I don't want to. Like, no, I want to watch commentary on it. I could just go to his channel and watch his videos. Lord knows he needs the money. Let's see. Beck, I do hope all out of anime suggestions you check out My Hero, My Hero Academy. Let's see. You ever play Comic Zone on Sega Genesis? I did years ago. I mean, like the early 2000s. I remember seeing it when I was a kid, but I never got it. But I played it on the Sonic Collection and PS2 in the early 2000s. I liked it. It was pretty good. I might look that up. I wonder if it's stupid expensive now. I might get it for the Genesis. Of all things, fucking Moonwalker got stupid expensive. I mean, I guess it is a pretty early Genesis game when maybe it wasn't the highest run, but I mean, there's not a tremendous amount of like enthusiasm for Michael Jackson right now, so I don't know why, but like I saw a review of it where I was like, that game actually sounds better than I originally thought. Maybe I should give it a shot. And I looked up prices for it online. I was like, holy fuck. But then I grabbed a reproduction card off Etsy for like $25, which is probably a bit much, but I mean, it's not that good of a game. But I was like, I really want to play it. And so he says, talk politics, Bechtloff. I don't know. I don't really have anything to say about politics tonight, to be honest with you. I mean, communists need to hang. I don't know what else to say right now. Should pineapple on pizza be illegal? No, but it is gross. Let's see. Pineapple on pizza should be mandatory. It's fucking disgusting. Communists are weak to sticks, apparently. Yeah, they're like the Golden Age Green Lantern. Their fucking weakness is wood. Let's see. Helicopters are standing by. Chicken and pineapple on pizza is heresy. Moonwalker was a kick-ass game, so the finale was completely different mechanics, was a kick in the balls. Yeah, it's not a bad game. I played it a little bit here since I got it. It's weird. By the time it finally came, I'd kind of moved on to wanting to play other games. That's the problem with ordering shit online. I assume that the weakness of communists was work. Yeah, I guess it is. Let's see. Anything else here? Pineapple on pizza is probably sin, as I'm pretty sure it could summon Satan himself. I mean, it is gross. There's no getting around it. It's gross. Like it's bad, and you should feel bad. I mean, I can kind of stomach it with ham, like the Hawaiian style. But just on its own on the pizza, that is nasty. How exactly is pineapple on pizza bad? Would you guys prefer anchovies in? Well, no, I mean, but that's like saying that, herpes is good because you wouldn't rather have AIDS. I tried shrimp on pizza. It was interesting. I know it's kind of, your normie Thai restaurant, but every once in a while I like to go to Red Lobster. They have a lobster pizza that's really good. It's not that expensive, and a lot of the shit there is a bit too pricey for what it's worth. What about pineapple grilled on a burger, Hawaiian burger? Maybe. I haven't really tried that. It's honestly more the cheese mixing with the pineapple that I hate. The only fruit that belongs on a pizza is tomato. Okay, yeah. Um, Anchovies are good on pizza. That's disgusting. Um, Seriously, all motherfuckers are gross. Let's see. No tomatoes, sauce only. No way, man. Sun-dried tomatoes on pizza are great. Let's see. At least you fuckers can eat pizza. I'm lactose intolerant. Oh man, I'd hate to live without cheese. Cheese is awesome. I prefer mushrooms and bell peppers. That sounds wonderful. What sauce goes good with McNuggets? Well, we all know what sauce goes good with McNuggets. I love the Rick and Morty Twitter account. Like, please God, I don't ask for much, but please let this show have enough cultural weight to make McDonald's bring back that fucking sauce. And I honestly think McDonald's might do it too. That's the best part. I need that Swiss Szechuan McNugget sauce, Morty. That's my character arc. McNuggets on pizza. You know, McNuggets are kind of shit because, I mean, most of McDonald's food is shit. But I actually really like McDonald's sweet and sour sauce. So every once in a while, not often, but every once in a blue moon, I would just be like, you know what? I'm going to go get me some McNuggets and some sweet and sour sauce. And it's not even that the McNuggets are that good. The Chicken McNuggets kind of taste like ass, if I'm being honest with you. But like the sweet and sour sauce that McDonald's has is just fantastic. I like too, like McDonald's a few years ago, they were all like, "Oh, we're all white meat in our chicken McNuggets," and it's like, what the fuck was it before? You know, like congratulations to getting to where Wendy's and Burger King had been for 15, 20 years. Thoughts on tendies? Well, yeah, that's where you spend your good boy points. McDonald's did kill sweet chili. You know, they had a chicken. Yeah, they had a chicken wrap, a sweet chili chicken wrap. I would get once in a while. That was actually pretty damn good. Not even bad for you, really, if you got it grilled. Shockingly for McDonald's food, and I used to get that once in a while because there was McDonald's right by my work, and yeah, they took it away, and I was like, fuck, because I mean, McDonald's hamburgers suck dick. All right, they always have, and they always will. Every once in a while, McDonald's got good things on its menu. But for what, 60 fucking years now, they haven't been able to get a hamburger right. Let's see. Bechtloff, you ever watched a YouTube video of a guy smoking McDonald's fry like a cigarette? No, I haven't. McDonald's fries are even gross. I mean, Wendy's fries and Burger King fries are way fucking better. McDonald's nasty, thin little gross ass fries. Do you not have an In-N-Out burger in PA? I don't know that we do or not. I don't think we do. I know we got Five Guys. It's funny too. I hadn't been at Five Guys in a couple years when the Gamergate started, when it was still the conspiracy, and I was like, man, I got a hankering for Five Guys. Zoe Quinn might not be any kind of real game developer, but she was a hell of a burger salesman. Can you imagine being the guy at like working for Five Guys who's in charge of their social media, who had to wake up that Sunday morning and like figure out why Five Guys was trending on Twitter? Five Guys burgers and lies. Why is everyone talking shit about our fine restaurant? Oh wait, no, this is about a whore. Oh, okay. Like, I wonder if there's like official like rule for the guy in that position, like do not acknowledge Joe Quinn's existence on social media ever. Five Guys is a fucking ripoff. I don't know. I've always had a decent meal there. I mean, you know, for fast food. You know, I mean, they'll give you a fucking trash bag full of fries. Arby's curly, fuck the rest of the fries right up the ass. Arby's curly fries are not bad. No, I like them. And Arby's is one of those restaurants that used to be fucking nasty when I was a kid, like just disgusting. Um, and they stepped up. Taco Bell was another one. Taco Bell was fucking gross when I was a kid. Like, I remember like the early 2000s. They had upped their game by this point, and like a friend of my girlfriend was like, "Let's stop at Taco Bell." I'm like, or let's eat out of a toilet. What the fuck are you talking about? That's disgusting. She's like, no, no, no. It's way better now. You got to give it a chance. Let's see. Somebody says, "Are you going to get a new dog?" I don't think I am. Yeah, I really don't think I am. That was a no. I mean, granted, it happened right around when I'm also getting laid off, so that was part of it. But yeah, I don't think little Loki needs replaced. I think we'll just enjoy his memory for a while. Taco Bell used to make their food with literal dog food. I believe it. Like that would not if that was absolutely true, that would not surprise me. Because man, they were disgusting when I was a kid. Bechtloff get a goldfish. Maybe. Let's see. Bechtloff's dog, R.I.P. Yep. Sleep tight, pupper. You got laid off? Fuck, man, I did too. Yeah, I got laid off last week. This is course of 3 days last week. Somebody hit my car, which I've got to take it to the body shop tomorrow. Actually, the insurance will take care of it, but still, it's a hassle. Then Thursday I got laid off, and then Friday I had to put Loki down. So it's been it was a rough week last week. Let's see. Taco Bell had to make an ad after they're caught red-handed about their meat. So he says, "Oh, sorry, you collecting the unemployment. I did file. I should be collecting here in a week or so." And then, to be honest, this is the first time I ever filed. I've managed to basically I don't as far as I know I've taken no government assistance my entire life. No handout, no none of that shit. And I know unemployment's something you pay into, but I mean technically through taxes you pay into it all. But no, I never, and I could probably even fucking. It's shocking what you could apply for if you like look into it. I could probably get fucking food stamps if I wanted to. You know, but but this is the first time I've taken unemployment, and I don't know. It was just such a kick in the balls. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna take it, and give myself some time to try and figure my shit out, and hopefully get myself in a really better position than I was before all this even. Let's see. Bechtloff, God is punishing you for having sex with your high school sweetheart. If he's punishing me, there's probably way more recent stuff that he could be doing that for. Let's see. I figured out how to hit two birds with one stone, large stone and two small birds. Let's see. Yeah, I've never had to do unemployment or any shit like that. I mean, I've had to maybe lean on some friends and family just a touch over the years. But I mean, that's what friends and family are for. But I was always keen on not going on the dole in any way, shape, or form. But this time we kind of just like, fuck it, I don't care anymore. Like, give me some breathing room so I can. Bechtloff tries it neatdom. I gotta tell you, I'm already fucking sick of it. I don't know how the hell. No wonder guys like fucking Spoonie and DSP go insane. I mean, it's no kind of life. Embrace the neat pill. No, man, this is no kind of life. I mean, look, getting up in the morning and going to work, yeah, it kind of sucks. But the only thing worse than having a job is not having a job. I mean, maybe it'd be different if I like fucking won the lottery and I could afford to just be traveling all the fucking time or something. But like, no, the neat lifestyle is not for me. You know, a few days of it are kind of fun, but no, 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 no. It's it'll rot your soul. Um, it looks like Azalea Rosette and Tidal Wave are either flirting or fighting in the fucking chat. I'm not entirely sure which. And I don't think they are either. Let's see. You can still travel without winning the lottery. Well, obviously you can. I mean, like, you know, do it without ever having to worry about money kind of thing. With, you know, stay in a nice hotel, you know, see the sights, not have to, you know, not have to worry about doing it on a budget. Let's see. I suggest finding a job in a different field if you weren't happy. I'm doing bartending now, and I love it. Pays decent too. You know, that's something to look into. I was actually extremely happy with my job, but I need to be making a bit more. It wasn't as much as a 34-year-old man should be making. It was what a 24-year-old man should be making, and I need to. I was almost too comfortable at what wasn't a good enough job. Let's see. Um, will Antifa ever fall? Oh yeah, oh yeah. The time of reckoning will come. Let's see. Am I weird for not really caring about travel? Well, see, here's the thing. I don't mean travel in like that stupid fucking, you know, Instagram thought way where it's like you're doing it for its own sake. I mean, there's stuff I want to go see, you know, like there's stuff I want to go do. I'd love to go see the video game museum down in Texas. Um, you know, shit like that. I mean, actually, you know, it's not far from me. It's only an hour away. I should go to the aquarium in Baltimore. I haven't been there in ages, since I was a little kid. I've been to New York a few years ago. I wouldn't mind going again. New York City's fun to visit. I wouldn't want to live there, but it's fun to visit. Um, yeah, not necessarily for its own sake, just to see things, to see places, you know. Um, that kind of thing. Like I would actually really like to go out to the big Mile High comic book store out in Colorado. But I mean, what the fuck else is in Colorado that you would want to go to? And I feel silly about going halfway around the world for a fucking comic book store, or halfway across the continent. I mean, um, or all the way across the continent. I wouldn't mind seeing the Mall of America either. I've heard really interesting things about that. Let's see. Hmm. Squirrel Girl is getting her own live action TV show alongside Daredevil and Jessica Jones, left now weaponizing autism. Squirrel Girl is not a bad character. Let's get this straight. Yes, there's some SJW retard who draws her like she has Down syndrome now, but inherently this is not a bad character. You know, the plucky, the misadventures of a plucky D-list superhero is by no means a bad idea for a book or even a show. Actually, Anna Kendrick has repeatedly said she wants to play Squirrel Girl if they ever put her on screen. And that'd be awesome. Anna Kendrick in a Squirrel Girl show could be the tits. No pun intended. But yeah, I mean, don't 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 say that the character is bad just because they've run it through the shitter here lately. Let's see. I've been rambling on for a while here, folks. I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this up. If anybody got any last thoughts here, I'll give it a minute. I know there's a delay with the chat. Somebody says, pun intended, Anna Kendrick is cute as fuck. Yeah, she is. She is an adorable little thing. You just want to wreck her. Make an episode where you red pill a normie about the Amish. Yeah, that's the other thing. Now that my schedule's freed up, I can do another one of those. What do you know about? See, that was the complicated thing about that show. By the nature of it, is I have to work around other people's schedules, and I also had to work around my day job. Well, one of those factors has recently been removed, so hopefully we can get on that a bit better. Have you seen Spider-Man's black love interest in Homecoming? Yeah, the Burger King Kids Club casting of Spider-Man Homecoming really turns me off to it. And it's a shame because I should love the idea of a Spider-Man movie that takes place in the Avengers movie universe. All right. Well, that's about all we got for this week, folks. I want to thank everybody for listening. I may or may not do a stream again tomorrow night, so keep an eye out for that. And that's all we got for tonight, folks. Bechtloff out.